Hi there. Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you all here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. And I got a pair of junked up, busted glasses. I rolled on them days ago, and they just have not come back to the shape that they belong. Oh my God, that's terrible looking. Oh, maybe I got it now. Hold it. Yeah, probably not. Anyways, might have to muddle through with these twisted sisters, as they call them. Oh, yeah, they're very bad. Anyways, we're a little bit early. I wanted to get online early in case there was an issue. Sometimes there is with these things. I'll just keep bending these until they stay in place. I could grab my other ones. Probably that's the best thing to do. So just give me a second. Wait a minute. Just realized I had the wrong ones to begin with. These are the ones that work. Those other ones are just Twisted Sister. I use them for reading, probably, mostly. So today, we're a little bit early, so I don't really want to get started till 9. But just to tell you, I've had my breakfast. I'm good to go. I've got my water. Yesterday I had tea. I try not to drink too much tea because it makes my sleeping not so good. So I'll stick with that. Anyways, I want to welcome you all here to the Prog Monster. I hope you will enjoy this episode of Sunday Morning Breakfast Live. I decided, since I got this a couple weeks ago, actually I got it maybe 3 weeks ago, and then I did the new albums purchased video, of course, on the last day of the month of December. And since then, I've been listening to this periodically. This is my Electric Prunes. Then came the Dawn to Complete recordings from 1966 to 69. So all of their original stuff, really. They've done other stuff in recent years that has most of the original members, or at least had most of the original members from the band that were still alive in it. So this band has a bit of a complex history. I'll kind of go over it a bit. Now that it's 9 o'clock, we will go over it. So the first 2 albums, which are just the self-titled Electric Prunes album and the Underground album, those were the first 2 albums. Primarily the original band members all played on those 2 albums. Most of the music was written by a couple of ladies, at least on the first album when they did primarily covers, and then maybe not as much after that, as the band members kind of took over. Then they had the next 2 albums where they had a break, over a year break, I believe it was. And before they did their 3rd and 4th albums in 67 and 68, respectively. Those albums were primarily produced by the band's manager, and he did almost all of the stuff with them. And in most cases, in the 4th album, Release of an Oath, primarily all session musicians played on the album. Hardly any of the original band members played on the album. So maybe it's not even really a Electric Prunes album. I'm not sure how you want to describe that. It's not something I've heard of a lot of. And then I have a couple of other discs with this box set. One is a group of what they would call, actually their 5th album was on here too, Just Good Old Rock and Roll, which was another collection of stuff too. It's actually on the 4th CD. I forgot about that. And then we have the Shadows on the disc, the 5th disc, which is basically all kinds of hits. I think there's like almost 20 of them on there. And then the final disc is a live concert in 1967. in Stockholm. Yeah, so we're going to talk about this box set. This is it here, 6 CDs in all, and I will try to go through them one at a time. It also comes with this book, which I was reading a bit of, just a little bit about their history. So they're a LA-based band from the early 1960s, like 64, 65. It's when they started to form. The main guy went to Hawaii, was working there, and then came back and met 3 other guys at high school, and they formed the band together, and then started rehearsing at his house as his parents set up the garage for them to rehearse. A lady came by, a young girl who was working as a assistant for a real estate agent, was listening to their music, and then kind of got them in contact with a music producer, and that's kind of how the career kind of started to go, really. There may be a lot more details to it that I'm informing because it's still fairly new to me, this band. I like them a lot, but still fairly new to me. And when you get a box set like this, it gives you a lot of stuff to review all at once. So it takes a while to really kind of get a feeling for the band. But I think I have a pretty good grasp of them now. So I'm just going to go over their studio albums and maybe a brief talk about the other 2 discs as well. But the first studio album for them is this one, the Electric Prunes. This is just a box set cover. The album actually looks like this. And if you want, you can see it here again. So this particular CD, and I'm going to use the box cover for that because it's much easier to read. So there are, I guess, 2 different versions of each song. That's what I hear when I'm listening. So you, of course, have the disc in here. I'll pull it out if I can get it to come out. I don't really like these kind of things because it's easy to mark up the discs. So this is what all of their discs look like. I'm not going to pull out every single one. They all look like this. Grapefruit Records. All exactly like this. Put it back in so it don't get damaged. That's a hard thing. It's a lot easier to damage vinyl than it is to that. You can scratch CDs, but they tend to hold the music very well. So yeah, so this is the original album cover here. All 4 of the members done in this quasi kind of psychedelic animation look to it. And I think their first big hit, in fact, the only hit, which is I Had Too Much to Dream, is on this opening CD. And all these songs were written by 2 women, pretty much. And if I could just find their names, I know I've seen them. Maybe they're in the book. Just give me a second here. Nice shot here of all of the different publicity things. Got a very different sound, the Electric Prunes. It's psychedelic, but oh yeah, here it is. This is what I wanted. Yeah. So the girls are Tucker and Mance. Doesn't give their first names, but they wrote almost all of the stuff on the album. Now, the members of the band, or the main members of the band, or the original members of the band, if you prefer, whatever you want to call them, I'm going to give you those. And then I'll give you a picture of them too. If I could find one with both, I'd be happy. It might be this. I had it earlier. Lord knows what I did with it. anyways, you got basically the main guys in this band: Mark Tulane, if you want, Ken Williams, and then you've got where is it? Mark Tulane, Ken Williams, James Lowe, Mike Wheatley. And then there's one other guy who I've missed. Doesn't appear. I think he was only with the band a short period of time. Preston Ritter joined after that. You got Weasel Spagnola, who was also with the band in '67. So a few people came and went, but it's basically Tulane, Ken Williams, and Lowe are the main three guys. They're all gone now. The band that tours as them and does stuff as them now there's no originals left. Actually, after their second two albums, their third album had some of them on it, but they also had session musicians. And then by the fourth album, it was pretty much all session musicians, and the only person in there was Hassinger, who was the band's manager. Dave Hassinger pretty much controlled the band from that point out. So this is their first studio album. Not this part here, but the album is there. So this part is that's what their first studio album looked like. So they have 13 tracks in total, I believe, on that album, or 12. I think it's 12. Actually, it's 12. And then you have different versions of the songs as well. Oh yeah, here it is. Jim Lowe, Weasel, Ken Williams, Mark Tulane, and Preston Ritter. Those were the original guys in the band. I knew it was there somewhere. I just couldn't find it. So anyways, their music, how do I put it? At least on this album, the music's poppy. It's got a very pop flavor of that time period. Definitely sounds dated. But they also have I would say a hint, or a little bit more than a hint, of psychedelia going on in the music. Lots of fuzz bass. Yeah, just kind of got that 60s slowish kind of psychedelic pop flavor to their music. None of the songs are really hard rock. I wouldn't call any of them hard rock, at least not on this album. But definitely those are the two main sounds on this album. This album is good, but it kind of reminds me of that 60 or late mid 60s pop sound. Beatles, maybe Revolver might be a good description of what this album has some similarities to. Maybe not Revolver, Rubber Soul. Maybe not as good as not as good as Rubber Soul for sure. And Rubber Soul had a lot more different sounds than this has, but this, kind of in that same boat. It's kind of poppy, but has a psychedelic flavor to it. That's where, when I think of Rubber Soul, that's what I think of. And this one kind of has that same thing. There's even at least one song on this album that, Try Me On for Size, I think that might be the one that kind of reminds me of the Stones a bit too. So this is their first album, the Electric Prunes, self-titled. The next song up, the next album up is Underground. This is their second album. This one's a much more psychedelic album cover. Everything's a little bit more psychedelic. This looks like almost like a war scene. And then you have the absolute, this is what I would call an X-ray of the band. So this has a couple of different people on here. Quint is on drums here, and a new guitar player. So the middle three guys, Weasel, Mark, James, all with the band on the initial album. The difference between this album and the first album is quite a bit, actually. So most of the stuff here on this album was written by members of the band. The two women are still writing for them, but only doing a couple of tracks on here. Most of the stuff was written by the members of the band. There's a list of songs here. I'll try to refer to them off of the Children of the Rain. That's a good song. I like that one. Hideaway, Captain Glory, Long Day, Flight. And this is quite a bit more psychedelic. So they've leaned a lot more into the psychedelic element of their music when they got on this album. There's still a pop element there, but it's the difference between the first and second one is the first one is more pop with the psychedelia kind of in the background a bit. This one definitely a reversal. This one's a lot more psychedelic and is a little bit heavier of an album as well. Personally, I think this is their best album because I've listened to them all now. I haven't listened to them enough to really get a good in-depth feel for them yet, but I think this one is probably the one I like the most. A lot more psychedelic flavor to their music. The use of the fuzz bass is pretty predominant on this particular album. This is a really good, solid second album, like sophomore album, and they were headed somewhere at this point, I believe. And then they got sidetracked, so there was a couple years where they did not. I don't think in 67 or 68. It doesn't give you the dates on here, but I think so their first couple albums were fairly quick, came out fairly quickly, and they had a break, what a year, maybe a year and a half, and came out with their third disc. But they, on this one, it was kind of a strange mix. So you had a lot more different sounds on this. You had a lot more musicians. There's different musicians on this. This wasn't entirely the Prunes themselves. There was some of them on here doing some of the stuff, but there was a lot of session musicians as well, if I'm following it correctly. And I think I got that. This is pretty good. So I like this cover the best of them. This one's also a lot more. It's got a lot of a psychedelic flavor too, but it's a lot more. A lot of it kind of a religious flavor to this album. A lot of it. There's a fair bit. I think the guy Hassinger, who was the producer and the band's manager, he was into that, and this album moved in that direction quite a bit. So you've got a lot of this kind of, I would call it like old school kind of church sounds, the chanting and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of that on this. It's a little bit different, but there's also a fair bit of psychedelic element to it. It's not entirely bereft of any kind of rock. There's a rock sound to it as well. I would call this album, if they had gone on to a great deal more stuff, I would say this is kind of a transitionary album. It's good. I do like the cover, but it's definitely got that religious flavor to it. You know, even the album is called Mass in F minor. Well, basically, it's a Catholic Mass type of thing going on. You got the Catholic cross here with the prayer beads, the rosary, if you prefer. Mass in F minor. So it's got a lot of that flavor to it. And it came out about a year and a half after. So you've got a somewhat of a variety of different instruments and players on here as well. And their last studio album, at least from the 60s, and at least for this box set, is called Release and Oath, the Electric Prunes. So by this time, the band has completely changed. You don't have any of the original members. They've been kind of pushed aside. They were in the studio during the recordings and stuff. but their manager kind of was in control of everything. He just pushed most of them aside and kind of put these four different guys who played on the album. They were all in it. There's no original members in the band at this point. Dick Whitestone, Brett Wade, Ron Morgan, and Mark Kinnaid. Basically, yep. So just four different guys. It's a totally different band, and it has a little bit more of that that religious feel for it. So this was actually produced by David Axelrod. He was in there and kind of did all of the stuff here, put all of the music together. Put all of the music, so he had his own musicians. So they were basically almost the band members were basically non-existent on this album. Now, I've seen this before, but not in this way. I've seen it where, a couple members haven't been showing up to the studio, so they get all kinds of session musicians in there playing their parts. And then in some cases, they play the people who are still involved, they'll play their parts too. And basically it's just in name that they're the same band, where in this, they were just all pushed aside. They even gone as far as to call the new and improved Electric Prunes. Yeah, if I was the guys, I wouldn't have been too happy about it, but I'm not really sure what exactly happened to cause this, because I'm still fairly new to the band, so not sure where. I'm reading through some of the history of the band through the internet and also through this booklet, but it seems kind of funny that they would do such a thing. I guess they just the guy wanted total control of the band, the producer, and so the only way to do so was to kind of push the band aside. So that was kind of the fourth studio album. Now there is a fifth, and just good old rock and roll, it's called. So I'm not really sure exactly how that works here. So you got Release the Oath by the Electric Prunes, and then on the back it's good old rock and roll. This may be a second album. Still fairly new. Not quite sure how that works. I thought there was only the 4 studio albums, but it looks like there may have been a fifth one as well, released after this fourth one. But still, I like that the music is good, no matter who's the band playing. I prefer the second studio album over all the other 4 or 5. And then, of course, you have this. This is a disc that came with it called The Shadows. Basically just some 45 mixes, rare tracks, and extended versions of songs. They're all labeled here as to what they are. Just basically remixed versions of the original songs. And then you've got also those songs with extra parts added to them. And then some rare tracks that weren't on the original albums as well. This one's actually quite interesting. I originally felt that this was like a greatest hits, but it's clearly not that. And this one does have the original members on it. You'll see them all right there. And then the last disc that comes with this box set is this, Live in Stockholm, 1967. Recorded by the Swedish Broadcasting Corporation at the Concert Hall in Stockholm, Sweden, on December the 14th, 1967. So some time ago. What's that, 59 years ago? Just a collection of them playing some of their bigger songs. This wasn't a band that had a lot of big hits. I think they really only had the one hit, You Never Had It Better. The rest of the songs are kind of cult following songs. I guess this band has a bit of a cult following. There's a group of people that love them a lot, and definitely are well known in that group, in that particular group of people that follow them. But outside of that, I had never actually heard of them until I started last month's series on psychedelic bands. I had not heard of them before. And then so I was checking out a bunch of psychedelic bands for possibilities because I probably had maybe 20, 24, 25, somewhere in there of bands that I knew that were going to go in my list, but I needed to round out to get the 31. So I started looking around and listening to a lot of bands and discovered quite a few more and actually replaced some of the ones I originally had in there with some of the bands. And this was one of those bands. This band actually impressed me a lot, not just because they were completely psychedelic, they weren't, but they just had a strong sound, which was appealing to me. So this is a live version of those songs, and you've got some demos as bonuses from Jim and the Lords. I'm Free, Little Olive, Too Many People, and I'm Down. I think the I'm Down is one of the Beatles tracks that they covered, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look. And here's a nice shot of them on stage. It's the original band too. So this band did get back together in the late 90s and did a few things. I think they had two more albums they released in the 2000s, and then the last of the original members passed away. And then from that point on, I'm not sure exactly when that happened. I think it was around 2014, 2015. The band has been four completely different musicians as well. But some of those musicians had played with originals, had replaced some of the people who had left and were kind of in the band as well. So it was kind of a tie-over type thing. This is a nice shot of them here too. So that's my breakdown of the Electric Prunes from this collection. I like this box set. It's good. It gives you a lot of information on the band that would probably otherwise be hard to find. If you had to go collect these individually, I think it would be next to impossible to get all this stuff. So I was happy to get this. Complete recordings of 66 through to 69. So the band itself actually formed in 64, 65. I always kind of like this picture. It's kind of funny looking. But a pretty psychedelic band, I would say. And the name is hard to forget, Electric Prunes. Yeah, I like it. So anyways, that's my take on the Electric Prunes today. If you want to make any comments about them in the comment section below, you can do that. And if you've got any information you want to add, that's good too. Please hit the like and subscribe while you're at it. And I can't get this thing open now. I'll have to do it after the video then. Anyways, that's my take on the Electric Prunes, a 1960s psychedelic pop, psychedelic kind of hard rock at times bands as well. Hard rock in the sense that they're harder than most of the bands of that era. I wouldn't call them hard rock though. So that's my take. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we will see you all next Sunday morning for Sunday morning breakfast. I'm not quite sure what my topic will be next Sunday morning. I'm going to look into what I feel like doing and what I think makes sense to do. And when I post it, then you'll be able to see it. It'll probably be posted later today. I did post it shortly after the last episode last week. So hopefully I can do the same this week. So take care. Have yourself a good day, and goodbye here from the Prog Monster.